Hey bitch! So, about a year and a half ago, I was dumped. Savagely. And by email, might I add, which is honestly just the worst way to get dumped. I'm not gonna lie, I think it's way worse than Carrie Bradshaw getting dumped on a post-it, because like at least she had a bright yellow sticky piece of paper that she could fold into a crane and throw at people. All I had was something that sat in my inbox and taunted me for days until I, you know, deleted it. But I wasn't dumped by a romantic partner. I wasn't heartbroken over a boy. I wasn't, you know, lying comatose eating cheesy puffs in the dark because he just don't love me no more. No. I got dumped by my agent, which for anyone who works in the performance industry, that's like way worse. It wasn't even a situation where I could be like, you know, maybe we just want different things and maybe he's just not in the right space for a relationship right now. No, this was just someone looking at me and telling me, you have no talent, get out. Which like, great, love that for me. And then when I called her up to be like, what's going on? She said, sorry, who is this? Whew. These eyebrows really said distantly related. So, this incident sent me into what I can only describe as a tailspin. Most actors, performers, stage people, and whatnot spend a lot of their time trying to sign with a big agent. And when you do it, you're immediately just like, I've made it. I've made it. Everybody be quiet. You're all peasants. I have made it. Someone should really tell every single actor that that just does not happen. And when it all came crashing down, I was broken, and I wasn't just a little bit broken either. I wasn't just like, oh no, guess I'll move on. Like, I completely fell apart. Completely. Carte blanche, just wholesale fell into a deep abyss of nothingness. And so I turned to food, which I guess I wouldn't really recommend. I was just shoveling down large portions of food and just hiding behind Facetune and long hair. Cut to, I gave myself a deadline. I took myself away to this manor retreat thing, very fancy. As I sat in this little manor, I just thought, God damn. This one time, failure has gotten the better of me, and it was crushing. Chapter 2. Cake. So, if you've been paying attention, I was agentless, fat, and depressed, and in my line of work, only 2 of those are a bad thing. The Romanian-French philosopher Emil Cioran, yes, this is that type of video. I have a degree in politics, a master's degree in security, and I'm going to put it to good goddamn use. Wrote a book named The Heights of Despair, in which, as the title suggests, he talks a lot about failure, decay, and despair. Interestingly, he's actually referred to a lot of the time as like a darker, funnier, like more sarcastic Nietzsche, which maybe isn't the best guy I should be drawing inspiration from, but this is where we're at, so this is what we're doing. So at his core, Emil was, do you mind if I call you Emil? I would call you by your last name, but I have trouble pronouncing it. Cioran. Cioran. He was basically a depressed insomniac, but if you read his work and you look through a couple of his books, you almost get this strangely romantic evolution. And in his book, On the Heights of Despair, he writes quite plainly that the only reason he is indeed writing whatsoever is so that he doesn't stab people in the face. He says that he writes purely for the utility of writing, and that writing itself is a utilitarian act, so that he does it essentially to serve a purpose, like getting over the death of a loved one, or writing through depression, or in his case, so he didn't murder everybody in the Romanian countryside. Maybe that's not something you should like advertise about yourself, but I mean, he was banned from returning to Romania, so maybe that had something to do with it. So when I was rereading Emil's work, it gave me a strange sense of comfort, because it was almost like I was sitting at a bar with a friend, and that friend was just like,
"Bitch, life sucks, huh?"
And you're just like, yeah, kinda. But then instead of dwelling on it, they just turn around and say,
"But you know, life sucks for everyone, and if it doesn't suck for you, then you're doing something wrong."
In fact, in one of his works, he actually notes that only the village idiot truly believes that he belongs, kind of suggesting that most people are in this weird state of flux, and that if you're not constantly questioning and evolving and moving, well, then you're done. What was I saying? Oh yeah, do you remember that I said earlier that Emil wrote prose for a utility, and not just like because he really liked writing or anything? And well, I kind of realized that in my angst, performing for me is almost like writing for Emil. There's something almost innate in me that means that no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing, I always want to be creating something. And that isn't gonna just go away because I don't have an agent. How do you think I got an agent in the first place? I didn't just wake up one day and go, okay, I have one now. I was making stuff, I was doing stuff. This is what I've always been doing, you know? And that realization, that kind of unburdening, that kind of unlinking of my intrinsic sense of self-worth as a performer from a person, you know, or an entity who represents me and gives me validation, made me feel so much better. Because, again, as Emil says, I am but an accident, so why take things so seriously? I have also developed a rather strange makeup routine where I like combine 7 different I combine like 4 or 5 different foundations and just put them in different places in my face, because I think like for some reason it makes my makeup nicer when I have different foundations covering different parts. And also, like, I don't need, because I'm so pretty, I don't really need that much coverage in certain areas of my face, so I'll use a liquid, whereas like for my mustache area, I need a lot of coverage because I have very dark hair, so then I'll use a pan stick and go over it with a liquid. That doesn't mean anything to anyone, but that's what you're watching. Part 3. The inevitability of decay. So, what's left to cover? Let's see. Got dumped, got depressed, got fat, talked about a dead French guy. All of that was a great time, but... oh yeah, okay, the end of the story. So after my self-imposed deadline, I did indeed get a new agent, one that I am far more comfortable with, far happier with, and in general, things have been going pretty good. But my little entanglement with failure did make me realize that putting my entire sense of self-worth into an external person or collective group or agency led me closer to the precipice of despair than ever before. And I'm not gonna lie, recently I noticed a marked drop-off in the amount of castings and bookings I was getting, which honestly just allowed those feelings to bubble up again. And it is a constant struggle not to fall back down the rabbit hole of catastrophizing. Because the moment I start to think that my bookings are dropping off, my immediate thought is, well, guess I'm canned again. So, if you're like me, and at some point your life may have been in a little bit of a tailspin, take a page from a Romanian exile turned French insomniac who once said, "Having always lived in fear of being surprised by the worst, I have tried in every circumstance to get a head start, flinging myself into misfortune long before it can occur." Or, in normal person speak, stop taking shit so seriously, we all die eventually. So, in the meantime, dress up like a goblin and serve.